Hi, Karen Flaherty here from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be talking about the Gate 33, which is all about privacy and retreat. Okay, so we've got the sun in Gate 33, and this is started this today, July 30th, Friday, and it goes until August 4th. We've also got the Earth in Gate 19. So the Gate 33 is right up here, coming off the bottom of the throat. It's the gate of privacy or retreat. And the Gate 19 is coming off the root center, and this is the gate of sensitivity. So both of these gates, kind of dance with each other. They dance around the sun and the earth all together all the time because they're opposite each other. And so, and just as a brief review, what we usually talk about is the sun in each gate, and the sun is always opposite just like it is on the mandala. The sun gate is always opposite the earth gate, right, on the mandala. That's how they because the earth is moving around the sun, right? The sun doesn't move. So the earth is moving around the sun. We pick the earth gate, right? And then the sun gate is opposite it. So the sun is in Gate 33 this week. And so we actually start the week with no centers defined by the transits at all, as you can see from this chart. And it stays that way all week. So there's no extra, unless you happen to have the Gate 35, which would hook up here, or the Gate 41, which would hook up here, or the Gate 49, which would hook up here. There's quite a few gates that would hook up if you had them in your chart that would make you emotional, even if you're not. That's always what I'm kind of looking at. Last week, for example, we were very emotional. We had a few days that were emotional, and you could kind of see it in the ether, right? You could see it in what was going on. People were emotional at the Olympics because of the Olympics. People were emotional because of some of the hearings that were going on. People were emotional because there were earthquakes, there were floods, there were huge fires in the west coast of the US and Canada. And there's a lot going on right now. And so there was a lot of emotion as well. So personally, I'm happy that that's kind of gone and out for at least this week. And so hopefully you too will be on more of an even plane with this type of chart, because there are no specific centers defined for everyone. So this is a good chance to kind of be in your own energy for the most part, and to see what that feels like, and to see where things do hook up for you if they do. So the sun in the Gate 33 and the earth in the Gate 19. So the 33 is all about privacy or retreat in the original I Ching. They call it active withdrawal, literally going inside, retreating, and the transformation of a weak position into a strength. Whereas, you go in, you retreat, you take a day, you take a week, you take you take what you need, just as Simone Biles did, right? With her walking away from the all-around team activities. She may still do the individual activities next week, still to be seen, but it's taking active withdrawal. It's moving inside, taking stock of what's there, taking stock of what you need, and then transforming that weak position into a strength. So that's truly what's going on in the human design weather this week. The incarnation crosses this week are the cross of the four ways, which is always fun to talk about, because that's literally, at least the way I interpret it, and the way a lot of my friends and clients interpret it, is that it's about traveling. It's about really wanting to be everywhere and see everything and experience everything. But it's also about retreat, and it's the cross of refinement, which we'll talk about when we get to some of the personalities this week. And the gene keys, forgetting is the shadow, mindfulness is the gift, and revelation is the CD. So with the Gate 19 and sensitivity, what we've got is, in the original I Ching, it's called approach or wanting. I think of it as sensitivity because the sensitivity of this gate is around emotions. It's around your own emotions. It's around being sensitive to the emotions of others. But it's also about sensitivity to nature, sensitivity to animals, sensitivity to, and really love of nature, love of animals. A lot of veterinarians have this gate, for example. So what they say is that all things are interrelated as a parent and manifested through the action of approach. In other words, as we come together, we get to see how people are coming together. It's about relationships. It's about being together. It's about approaching other people. And so put it together with privacy and retreat, and you can see that somebody who wants to or has need for privacy sometimes, and this is sometimes, it's not all the time that they need privacy, but a little bit every day. Anybody with the gate 33 in their conscious sun or somewhere in their chart needs a little privacy every single day. And with the gate 19 and sensitivity, they're exhibiting that sensitivity in their retreat, I would say. So this sensitivity is also tactile. It's a tactile in terms of a touch and taste. People will notice the difference in their oatmeal, for example. If their mother changes their oatmeal, they'll notice a change in their clothing, if there are labels in the clothing or seams in the clothing, or it's itchy or things like that. It's very tactile kind of feeling, and every client I've ever said it to has nodded in agreement that is what they feel. In the Gene Keys, codependence is the shadow, sensitivity is the gift, and sacrifice is the CD. So in the Gene Keys, the shadow, the gift, and the CD are forgetting, mindfulness, and revelation. And so Richard in this graphic is saying our lives are mythical. So we are basically, there's no situation on earth that cannot be used as a means to raise your frequency and open your heart to your inner divinity. And again, so this is about going inside, seeing all the great stuff that's in there, and then being able to reemerge. And so it's kind of a taking the time for you, taking the time that you need, taking the time, whether it's mentally or physically or emotionally or any other part of you that needs some care and attention. You'll get to do that. The funny thing is, or the interesting thing is that the people who are born during this first week of August are usually, they're Leos. They're at least in the astrological sense, they're usually pretty big energies, pretty big personalities. And so to have this is almost well, as we say in human design, it's kind of a conundrum for them that they have all this energy, all this lion type of energy, and yet they're sometimes wanting to retreat, sometimes wanting to, and sometimes being very sensitive, and they all go together. So they're starting to say these personalities are kind of big personalities, right? Like a Martha Stewart or a Tom Brady or James Baldwin, Barack Obama, Louis Armstrong, J.K. Rowling, Lawrence Fishburne, a lot of big personality type people, Jerry Garcia. They're all there. They're all big personalities, and yet they need some quiet time every single day. And the other interesting thing of this is that this left ankle cross of refinement kind of goes through it's always the gate 33 in the sun. And so it's always about both the retreat and the sensitivity. And yet the four ways or the directions in the refinement kind of come together so that they're wanting to, just for example, with Martha Stewart, they're very meticulous, right? They're very tidy. They're wanting things neat. They're wanting things beautiful. They're wanting things to be just so. And that's kind of the feeling of this energy. This is not someone who's a mess, really. It's not somebody who's kind of willy-nilly going through life and not paying attention to the things that are important to them, unless, of course, they're quite either not living out their strategy or they're not living to their fullest potential. But people who are living to their fullest potential, like a Tom Brady, I mean, look at how exacting he is about his play on the field, the way he treats his body, the way his, as far as I can tell, relationships are. He seems to be a meticulous type of person. Now, I could be completely wrong, but that's the way he comes off. Same with President Obama. Same with, Yves Saint Laurent. He's a big, fashion designer, years and years and years, and such a meticulous craftsman, right? So there are loads of people who are very particular about the way they do things, about the way they live their lives, and about the way the way their lives surround them, really. And going inside if they need to be inside and quiet and isolated and taking time for themselves, and then going out when they're ready. So it's an interesting look at the types of personalities this week. So then, when we look at the history that happened this week, it happened to be that on July 30th of 1965, President Johnson signed the Social Security Act, which also started the Medicare and Medicaid programs, which, by the way, when the Medicare and Medicaid programs were established, that also meant that every hospital had to serve everyone, and they could no longer discriminate, because prior to that, hospitals were segregated, and there were some hospitals that were completely segregated, and there were some hospitals that had segregated wings, and so that was no longer appropriate after the Medicare and Medicaid programs were started. If the hospital wanted to be part of the Medicare program, they had to desegregate, and so that was part of that bill and part of the coming changes that were about to play out for civil rights of all types. In 1975, Jimmy Hoffa disappeared after lunch one day. And July 31st in 1990, Bosnia-Herzegovina declared independence from Yugoslavia. And that was, of course, after a long conflict there. But Yugoslavia broke up into a number of different countries. Arthur Ashe becomes the first African-American to play on the U.S. Davis Cup tennis team in '64. In 1790, the first census began enumerating the population. So this was the start of the census, which occurs every 10 years. In 1977, Radio Shack unveiled its first personal computer, the TRS-80, and that was to compete with the Apple personal computer, which had just come out, as well as the Commodore. And that was called the 1977 Trinity. And that was just as I was graduating from college, or just about to the next year. But it was still a big deal to have a personal computer. Not a lot of people did. And in 1988, the U.S. Senate votes to give each Japanese American who was interned during World War II $20,000 compensation and an apology. So that was an act of reparations for the Japanese Americans. And I thought that was interesting because that was something I was unaware of. I knew about the internments, but I didn't know about the money that had been paid. So for this week, take some time. Take some time for yourself. Take some time to do an analysis of what you need, what you'd like to do, what you'd like to do for the rest of the summer, perhaps what you'd like to do for the rest of the year. Since it seems like we might be moving into a time of introspection again, or moving inside again with regard to COVID, take some time for yourself. What do you really want to do? How do you really want to react this time? Because this is yet another wave, and you get to choose how you react to it. And I'm not saying that you should do one thing or another. I'm just saying it's up to you. I'm just saying do what feels best for you. Go inside, ask yourself, what's the best thing? Ask your inner being, what should I be doing? How can I take care of myself? How can I take care of my family? And what can I do? What would you like to do? What would you really like this month and this fall to be about? How do you want to play it out? And what other topics, what other projects do you want to take up? What do you want to be doing and serving yourself with, and serving your family and friends with, so that you can thrive during this period? You don't have to burrow inside again. Personally, I don't think it's necessary. I think there are ways to be careful, and there are ways to do it the way that makes sense for you. And so try to come up with some ways this week as you're being introspective, as you're quietly figuring out what's good for you and what's not, and come up with a way that really feels good so that you're able to be at a higher vibration and not bringing yourself down because of the things you can't do. Frame it in what you can do. What can you do? What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? What would make your heart sing? What would be good for you? What would be good for you and your family? And do that, and have a great week. And I'll see you next week. Take care.